experiences, wisdom, and practical insights to guide you on your journey towards impactful leadership and business success.
Get ready to unlock the secrets of creating a legacy in today's dynamic world. We will share how to survive and thrive as leaders in a world that is forever changing. Let's ignite the change we wish to see in ourselves, our team, and our businesses. BOOMLENNIAL podcast, hosted by Chee and Dee, seeks to empower and transform viewers to excel in their leadership journey. Let's get started.
Well, hello, Dee. How's everything going today?
Great. How are you?
I'm actually good. Did you have a good Easter?
I did. And wonderful. Spent time with family. It was really good time.
Awesome. That's awesome. Well, I did the same and everything. So, we're really happy that you guys have joined us today for episode 1. And this episode is entitled Getting It in Writing.
First off, I believe it is critical for all parties to have a signed contract or agreement for those who feel intimidated by the word contract. Having a signed agreement is essential to minimizing gray areas and ensuring clear expectations of various situations, whether it's a business deal, a freelance project, a podcast, or a personal matter. What do you think, Angela?
I could not agree more, Dee. I really think having a signed agreement really helps us to avoid misunderstanding or avoid any disputes that might come up. And it just helps to cut down or minimize the gray areas.
Yep, I agree. So, Chee, tell us about a time when you did not have a written agreement and what was the outcome of that?
Oof. Okay. Well, a few years ago, I actually had a friend who had 2 sons, and we also were just not friends, but we also were members of the same church. It was like a Thursday, and she called me frantic that day and was saying, Angela, don't you have a rental property that you're going to be renting out? And literally, my tenants had just moved out like that Monday, and I was needing to. They didn't really do a good job in keeping the property because they were Section 8 tenant. People say sometimes if you have rental property, use Section 8 because you're guaranteed your money. Yes, you get your money, but you don't really understand the mindset. And I'm not saying everybody because they're always different, but it was not a great experience. And so I decided I wasn't going to renew their lease. And so they left the place in just horrible condition.
Oh, that sucks.
I even had mold. And so we had called someone and they told us how it's a process you have to do to clean mold, and includes Clorox, bleach, mixing it up and all this good stuff. But anyhow, that's what we were going to have to do along with some other things before I can rent it out. But that weekend, I was engaged at the time, and my fiance and I, his parents were celebrating 50 years of marriage.
Wow.
So we were going to their, away that weekend to North Carolina to help them celebrate their 50-year anniversary. And who I was engaged to was a military person, very time conscious,
Yes.
So he had said we're leaving 6:00 on Friday, and that's what he meant. Wheels rolling, 6:00 on Friday.
That's right.
So when she came to me, I told her I do have a house, but it's going to take me about a week and a half to get it together. And she just was like pleading, Angela, please, I don't want to be on the street. It will really help us out. The boys, they're teenagers, they were in high school because her son was in high school. My son was in high school. So they had agreed. She had agreed that they would do all the cleaning as far as the mold if I would let them stay. So I asked my fiance, should she do? What should I do? And he said, okay, if she's agreed to do it, we'll go buy all the stuff. So we did. We got up Friday morning and we went to Home Depot and we bought everything from the water bottles to skirt,
Wow.
your cloths,
Yeah.
everything that they instructed us to buy, we did. Okay, long story short, we get back Sunday night and I have this long email about, Angela, I just can't believe how deplorable, you left the house in for us, and we got sick. We had to go to the emergency room and everything, but we're fine now. But please let's talk. And of course, we had scheduled. I was in such a hurry. I did not have time to do a rental agreement.
But you were helping a friend out.
Well, that's correct. And I told her, let's get together on Monday. I will get back in town Sunday. I will sit down and do the agreement, and then we can get together Monday and go over the rental agreement. But we did agree on the price as far as she would pay $700 a month is what I would charge, and she agreed to that. Okay.
Verbally, though.
Verbally, yes.
Okay.
So we had a verbal agreement on the price. All right. So Monday happened. And of course, I apologized. Of course, I didn't want them to be sick, and she accepted my apology. So we were fine. And we did go and get some more things cleaned and everything in the home. And then when I was reading over the contract with her and showing her that, I'm going to go ahead. It was like the 23rd when she moved in that Friday.
Okay.
And it was like a 30-day month. So she had 7 days that I prorated the rent, right?
Right.
And she looked at it and said, well, what is this proration? I said, well, you moved in Friday, which is the 23rd, so you owe me for the 7 days. You don't owe me the whole $700 for this month.
Right.
You don't just wait till next month. And I waived the deposit. I didn't charge her a security deposit.
Oh, that was generous.
Thank you. Okay. So anyway, she was a little upset, I guess I would say the word, that I would charge her for the 7 days. And she thought, well, it should be free. And I said, well, no, I never said anything about free on that. I said I will waive the deposit for you. So anyway, we just agreed to disagree, I guess, that day. 2 days later, I get a call from my church saying that my pastor wants to have a meeting with me.
What? Your pastor?
The pastor, okay? Yes. And so I did inquire, well, what's this about? Because I was on the choir, I serve on a lot of committees or whatnot, and I didn't know if it was a committee meeting or what. And I was informed that, no, it's like a rental dispute, and the pastor wants to talk to you. I'm like,
The
okay.
pastor?
Yes, my pastor. So anyway, we get there. My fiance went with me, and she was there. I'll just say, I'll call her Lisa to protect the innocent, okay?
Yes.
But Lisa was there, and me and my fiance. So our pastor, he opened up with prayer, and then he says, well, it was brought to my attention, you both are members here, but we have like a rental dispute. I just want to see if we can work through this, and everything. So she was the plaintiff, so we let her go first, you know. And basically, she gave her story, and basically everything she said was true. She called me at the last minute, and she begged if she can go, and she did admit to all of that. And she said, and Angela was really, nice, so she was very straightforward. When we got to Monday, because she didn't even say anything about they got sick, because I guess she knew that she took that on herself. But she said, well, when she actually did get a chance to write the contract, she mentioned it on that she had prorated these 7 days for the current month, and I really thought that she was going to be gracing me, giving me that free, right, and everything. So
Okay.
Yep. And so then the pastor, then he let me say it, and so basically all I had to say, I said, what she did say, it did occur just like that. I said, but the thing about it is, Pastor, I said, I agreed to waive the security deposit. I did not charge her security deposit because she is a friend. I absolutely adore her.
That was nice of you.
Thank you. And I adore her children. And, I felt for them. I was trying to be empathetic.
Right. It was an urgent need.
It was an urgent need and everything. But I never said you were going to be able to live here for free for any period. So I just thought anybody knows that, I'm not going to charge you a full month for 7 days, but it's called prorated. And even if you go into an apartment, if you don't move in on the first, you're going to always have a prorated rent. So this is probably not the very first time she's rented before. And it's standard practice in the market that you prorate a rent.
Okay.
Okay. And so that's all I'm charging her for is the proration. So the pastor he said, oh, okay. So I can see now that there is no intention here for anybody to defraud or, to be ugly. It looks like what's happened is you didn't have a written agreement, which would have cut down on all of the misinterpretation.
Yeah.
But then he looked at me, D, and he said, now, Angela, now you're a leader here at the church, and I hold my leaders to a higher standard.
What?
Yes. And so since you are a leader and you didn't present her with a contract before moving in, I really think we should go with her interpretation, and you should let her stay there for free.
So wait a minute. So the pastor suggests that you, as the leader, should essentially eat the cost of this misagreement or misalignment.
Yes.
So why didn't the church agree to take on the cost of the responsibility for this miscommunication?
That's interesting because
Okay.
he admitted at the beginning we're there because we both are members of the church, right? But he never offered anything. So the
Okay.
bottom line is that was my lesson learned. I went on and I just did it. I just said, you know what? I'm getting ready to get married. Your husband is going to be the head. There may be a time that he and I are not in agreement, but I wanted to be can I humble myself to leadership?
Yes.
And basically, my pastor was my leader, so I did. I just went on and did that.
Okay. Well, it sounds like that was truly a dialogue of misunderstanding. And it sounds like the individual, the young lady, had an urgent need and you were trying to help out. So now we know, even in these urgent situations or situations that require us to move fast, we still need to get things in writing.
Get it in writing or it doesn't happen, period.
Yes.
Okay.
So now that we all know we're not going to move forward in any deal or any situation without a contract, let's segue to our next topic, crafting an effective agreement. Now, can you tell us about a time, Angela, when you did get something in writing? How did that turn out?
Okay, so yes, I've learned and grown from that. So, so now I'm going to fast forward a couple of years later. I used to be an independent contractor with a company. I won't say the name, but that company didn't work out for me, so I decided to move on. But one of the other contractors there had, noticed me and my work ethic, my leadership, and actually asked if he can have a meeting with me. And I'm like, sure. So he's like, I'm leaving the company too, but I am a paramedic. He's a former firefighter, and most firefighters are actually paramedics. And he said, so we actually like moonlight. That means, do part-time things when they're not working with ambulance companies. And one of the guys that he had been working with had mentioned that he wanted to get out of the business. He was selling the business. He was very motivated seller, and because he wanted to move on and buy like a dump truck business, a new type of business.
Okay.
So he presented me with that opportunity. And I said, well, interesting. I do. Let me think about that because that is something that intrigues me. I wanted to see the profitability, like does this business make a profit?
Right.
And so we did meet. He set up a meeting so we can meet with the business owner, and he gave us all of all of his books, his financials for the last 2 years.
That was good because a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah, he was very totally full disclosure and everything, and he had a good. And then he was leaving us a business with equipment and patience, and that's a good thing.
Oh, that's
so
great.
we were able to just roll in. So of course I presented that to my attorney, and we ran the numbers just to make sure it was profitable. And what he was asking for, we actually had the money cash. We were both just going to go half in with it. Okay,
That's a blessing.
Yes. So that was a huge blessing. No debt. If you have an opportunity to go in business with no debt, that's the best option. Okay. Anyway, my opinion. Now, I know some people say you should always use other people's money when you can.
I have an opinion on that, but that's for another
Right. We'll do
episode.
that segment. But anyway, we did do that. So what happened was my business partner was getting his money from the sale of a rental property. He has about 4 rental properties in the area. Okay. He was selling one of them, and it was under $250,000. So in the Atlanta market, if you have a house that's at that price point, it's going to sell, even if investors come and buy it. So he was set to close, like let's just say in 2 weeks, and then we had set our business closing date like 3.5 weeks, right? And so 2 weeks came, he did close. However, the business that we left the company, he was very indebted with them with a lot of equipment that they had placed liens. The equipment owners had placed liens on his accounts or credit, whatever it's called. You have a lien, and those lien holders get paid first when you have any proceeds of a sale.
That's right.
And they took his money. So he didn't have his money. So he came to me, and he was honest. He said, he told me what had happened, and he said, so Angela, I have another property. I have it on the market now, and I'm going to sell that. But I want to ask you if you will loan me the money to pay my half so that we don't lose out on this good deal.
Okay.
And I will pay you back from this sale. Okay. And
now, how did you feel? Because, this is a new business partner, right? And your first sort of 90, or I should say 30 to 60 days, you had a little bump in the road. So
Right.
I'm sure that was a little
Well, that made me.
I guess he was honest.
I guess because he was totally honest about it, let's just say I was able to put that in my back pocket, meaning that
Correct.
you always want to observe things, but I didn't count that against him, but let's just say I'll put that in my back pocket, right? But I still do everything above board. I made sure I went to my attorney.
Yeah.
And he asked him for a copy of the contract because his house was under contract.
Yep.
So I was able to give that to my attorney. So my attorney said, Angela, you're a real estate agent in the Atlanta market. You know, how likely do you think, or how long do you think it'll take to get an offer on this? Because he gave it to me because he had immediately signed, you know, with an agent to go ahead and put it on the market.
Okay.
And so my attorney asked, how long do I think it's going to take? I'm like, at that price point, he'll get a contract in a matter of weeks. And if he gets a cash offer, they can close, you know, like in a week or so. Other than that, it could take, if it's a regular buyer, 30 to 45 days. So my attorney said, well, I tell you what, is 60 days reasonable? Can you feel, is 60 days a good time where you're being fair to him and fair to yourself? You know, you can live without that for 60 days. And I'm like, yes. He says, well, we need to have him sign a promissory note. You don't get rid of any money.
Excellent.
So he signs this promissory note saying that we're going to give you 60 days to pay this money back to us. But if in the event you don't, that business becomes 100% yours. And he asked me, am I okay? You know, would I want that business? And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm ready. I can take on this challenge.
Right.
You know, because then I'll just make him my employee.
Right.
Right. Okay. And that's how we present him. He'd be an employee. You know, he won't be an owner, but he can still work with the business.
Of course.
And he can have a leadership position. But he just won't be an owner. So he signed the promissory note. Andy, 60 days came.
No
that
sale.
house sold, but guess what happened with that house? He got a cash offer. And I don't know if you understand what happens sometimes when cash offers happen.
I don't.
So what
us.
happens is the company will come in and they might make you this big grand offer, right? And then they're going to run home improvements, you know, their
After their inspections
and all that. So if it's going to take about, let's just say $60,000 to get this house up to market, then they may come back and want to lower their offer, like by 15, 20, or 30,000.
Correct.
So in this case, they wanted to lower it like by 15, and he thought, he's not in a real estate game. He thought he can play hardball with them and said, nope. We got a signed contract. I'm not going to accept that. And they only had, I don't think, given but $1,000 earnest money deposit. So guess what? They just said, you can keep that. They didn't even show up to the closing table.
Wow.
Yes. And he was like, couldn't believe it. I'm like,
That's what happened.
your realtor should have known if they weren't responding. But anywho, the bottom line is 60 days came, he didn't have the money.
Yep.
So the company became mine.
Wow.
And that's what happened. So I got it in writing.
You did.
Yes.
Good. So kudos to you, one, having a team.
Yes.
And an attorney on your team.
Yes.
To advise
Yes.
properly.
Yes.
And two, you know, being honest with your business partner and you guys coming up with a solution that in the event there was a default or a misunderstanding,
Yep.
then hey, you didn't have to, there was no ambiguity.
Correct.
Essentially. So
Correct.
that's good. That's
Yep.
good. So
Uh-oh.
looks like we are transitioning to our third segment, which is called Ask the Leader.
Ooh. Woo. Okay. So, D, this question is from Barbara, a listener out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And she writes, Dear D and Chee, my best friend and I are considering going into a cupcake business together. We both are great bakers, and we have been best friends for over 10 years. Do we need a signed contract?
The answer is yes. I highly recommend having a signed contract when starting a business partnership, even if you're best friends, right? So I will say I don't necessarily go into business with my friends. However, I do recommend still having a signed contract. It's essential. It establishes that mutual trust, that respect, and it also clarifies any expectations or responsibilities or potential scenarios where there could be a misalignment. So a few reasons why I think that's very important. So the clarity and the agreement that's made. The contract allows you to outline specifically each person's roles and responsibilities.
Absolutely.
So we all know that in a business, so many different things come up throughout running a business. It helps streamline and provides clarity of who's doing what and when.
Absolutely.
Right? And how it should be done.
Yes.
It usually includes some kind of details of deliverables, measurements. So whether that's a financial investment that you both have made, who has decision-making rights, workload distribution, et cetera, et cetera. Because we all know, like, I may be strong in one area,
Absolutely.
you may be strong in another. And so it really helps us to streamline how we work together, right?
Absolutely.
So in that agreement. Also, my next point is conflict resolution. So in that agreement, while you may have a strong friendship, disagreements still occur in business, right? We all know that a contract or agreement can include provisions to resolving conflicts. So that may include statements that, we bring in a third party mediator if we cannot come to a resolution of a disagreement, or if we need to allow arbitration of a dispute or so forth. So that conflict resolution is big, especially, I'll make another point also, if one person decides to sell the business or wants to, do something different, it helps align on how we part ways in the most professional way.
Yep.
The last point I wanted to make was about asset protection. So in that contract agreement, right, your business may involve assets such as equipment, maybe their proprietary recipes, branding, or intellectual property, right? And so you want to make sure that's all protected. So that contract will specify how those areas are owned, how they're used, protecting them in the partnership, but also protecting them outside of the partnership. And so it reduces the risk of misunderstandings or disputes about ownership rights when it comes to, various projects or business. So I definitely think, because also in business, everyone doesn't come to the table starting the business with the same assets, right?
Correct.
You may have the money, I may have the brand, and so we need to be able to effectively
Leverage that,
right?
Absolutely.
So what do you think, Angela? What are some other points?
Well, the only point that I would like, because you hit everything on the head, you really hit the nail on the head with all of those points, is contingency planning is important, because a lot of times, like you mentioned, sometimes what do you do when someone wants to leave the business? But I'm going to even take a step further. What happens if somebody passes? So you really need, somebody, you worked wonderful together. Until death did you part, because being in a business is like a marriage, absolutely. But then there's legal compliance too. Having a good legal person is very important, because some businesses might have some compliances that you have to understand, that you're making sure you're always compliant in.
Yeah.
So that's going to be important.
And to that point, you want to make sure you're on the same page, because especially in this world of media and different outlets, right? Your business partner should not be saying things to the media and to the public that you all disagree that need to be disclosed.
Absolutely.
So that's definitely.
Absolutely. So basically, to sum this question up, starting a business can be really exciting. And if it's going to be with a friend, I'm sort of like Dee. I don't know if I would necessarily do it with a friend that's a best friend, but you sort of want to be friendly towards each other.
Correct.
But you certainly want to have a signed agreement to cut down on any ambiguity, to make sure that you understand your roles, who's going to be doing what. And also, it just gives you clarity as you navigate the challenges that may arise in the future.
Yeah. Okay. So that was a great question. So thank you.
And that was
that from Charlotte, North Carolina?
Yeah, from Charlotte, North Carolina. Yes, absolutely.
So remember, if you have a business or leadership related question, please email your question to Chee and Dee. So CheeAnddee@gmail.com. And your question may be selected to be read for a future episode. Also, follow our podcast page on YouTube and us on all social media platforms at BOOMLENNIAL Podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. So, Chee?
Well, Dee, this brings us to the end of episode 1, Getting It in Writing. So please join us for our next episode entitled Doing It Scared.
I do thank you for joining us today. Hopefully you learned something about getting it in writing, being clear and concise with your contract or agreement. Until next time, shine bright and do business right.
Okay.